There are thousands of ways to become a millionaire these days. You can create an NFT, you can buy crypto, you can win a lottery, you can start an OnlyFans. But the sure and the best way to become a millionaire is by being an entrepreneur, being the business owner, creating your own company, and actually offering value to the society so that it starts paying you back. I personally don't have a degree in business or entrepreneurship. I'm an engineer by background, but I happen to have my own company. If I want to learn something, the first thing I do is go grab a book and read about a particular topic that I'm interested in. I've read close to 100 books on business entrepreneurship. I've talked to a lot of smart people. So essentially that's how I learned about being an entrepreneur. If you want to be good at being an entrepreneur and being a business owner, you have to be particularly good in several things at the same time. That means being a good negotiator, being good at sales, marketing, creating the right team and manage it properly. Many other things that you need to take into account if you want to be a good, successful entrepreneur. Starting with number one, if you want to create ideas. Ideas are very important, but there are tons of ideas on the internet. You can just Google and find ideas, and ideas are worthless. And if you have that really good idea that you are willing to work on, then it's already the first step for you on the road to success. And the book that really helped me a lot is called 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel. It just, in general, it fills you in on the importance of monopolies. It actually challenges you to think creatively, not only competing with existing products and in an existing market and just merely copying the competitors and doing slightly better. This book will teach you how to actually innovate, why you shouldn't be afraid to create something new, because essentially when you create that something new, that really innovative solution, that's exactly what disrupts market, and that's what brings you the most money. And that is the sure way to become a millionaire, is by creating something new and possibly even creating the market for that. Number two, customer validation. The book is called The Mom Test by Rob Fitzpatrick, and we've talked about in my previous video on how you build the right MVP or just the right product that people want. And why this book is really good is because when you have that idea, or even you have any idea even that you want to push into the market, you still want to validate it to make sure you're building the right thing so that you don't end up with a product that nobody wants and yet you spend a ton of time and money on it. So to do that, the first thing you can do is just start meeting with people. You can start meeting with your potential clients, with your early adopters, and just see what kind of products they use already, what kind of problems they have. It's not even about discovering if they're gonna use your particular product, because what you're actually trying to do is to meet with them, to just ask them questions, the right kind of questions, to avoid all the fluff, to avoid the really unnecessary information that's not going to help you or even mislead you. And that's essentially what this book teaches you. It shows you the right practices to conduct these customer validation meetings, and it shows you the right questions to ask so that you actually get the right answers that actually going to help you understand what kind of product you should build. Okay, now let's talk about actually building the product, and I absolutely love this book. It's called The Lean Startup by Eric Rice. The thing about working in a startup is that you really don't know where you're going, and you don't know if your product is even needed in the market. You don't know pretty much anything. You just throw things at the wall and see what sticks. You just try to do something and see if it actually works. And the easiest and the cheapest way to do that is by creating the first minimum viable product, the product with minimum features, just enough to show people so that it's usable, and maybe they even will pay you money for. That's what you want to do. You just want to start building something really cheap and not even probably spending a lot of time on it, so that you just can understand if there is the market for it. This book really fills you in on how to take the first step and how to move in the market, whether you should pivot or persevere, whether you should keep doing what you're doing right now if there's value for it, or should you change it to something else. Maybe you should zoom out in the bigger picture. Maybe you should add one feature that people really like and remove all the other features from your product. So all these things is really important to understand and really important to go through. Okay, the fourth book is called The Hard Thing About Hard Things by Ben Horowitz. I really love that book because it actually gives you step-by-step tips on how to manage your startup, how to actually go past that phase of being a startup and how to actually build into a billion-dollar company, and it actually gives you really good life examples. You know, it's not only about being an entrepreneur in a company and just having work to do in a given day and just managing people. It's not that easy, because there are a lot of hard things that you have to do while being an entrepreneur, especially if you are a chief executive officer, a CEO, or if you have any other executive position, or even if you're a manager, you still have to manage people. And the hard things include decision making, like making really hard decisions that company depends upon, or that investors depend upon. All decisions that affect stakeholders. You have to hire the right people, and you have to fire people. You have to maybe it's not even their fault. Maybe because your company is just running low on funds and you have to lay off a lot of people. All those hard things that you have to deal with, it's important if you do those things right. So that's why this book really teaches you on how to do the hardest things that you can possibly do in the company to make sure you do the right thing, to make sure that you succeed despite anything. Okay, the next topic that we're going to talk about is giving presentation. When you are founder or simply an entrepreneur, or even if you just work in a company and you have to pitch or promote something, you have to give presentation. If you are some CEO or founder, you have to give motivational speeches to your employees, you have to pitch products and pitch your company to investors. Even right now, I have to sit in front of the camera and present to you something. And to be a good presenter, you have to have a number of skills under your belt. You have to be a good public speaker. You have to prepare the right slides. You have to prepare what you're gonna say, and to make sure that you just don't stutter or you say nothing wrong. And there are a lot of books on public speaking and how to give presentations and even how to pitch to investors. And the book that I'm gonna recommend you here is by Carmine Gallo, Talk Like TED. If you don't know, TED is just a series of conferences and lectures about different topics, so when the experts come and talk about their fields. What they do, they're all good talkers. They all have to present in front of audience. They all have to give good presentations. And that's essentially what you want to learn from. You want to learn from those presentations, you want to get those tips from the book, and you want to bring them to practice to improve your public speaking. Okay, now let's talk about your network. Your network is your net worth. It's really important to let those words sink in, because look, if you don't have a good network, you really shooting yourself in the foot. You pretty much cannot achieve anything. And having a really good network is the single easiest way to actually become successful. If you are surrounded by people who are successful, then guess what? You will also be successful, because you just learn from them, you pick up those clues, and you just start thinking like them. And the next thing you know, boom, you're successful. The book that I'm gonna recommend you here is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And this book is really gonna help you to not only create new relationships and just to find friends, but it will actually help you to become a better communicator, to socialize better, so that you can build that high value network that can help you grow. The next skill, let's talk about negotiating. I negotiate all the time, and you have to negotiate the shares when you meet with investors, you have to negotiate the products, you have to negotiate constantly with your team on what you should focus. You have to constantly convince people. And I like negotiating. I actually find it a really cool skill to have. Sometimes I just go to the store, even if I don't have that much to gain. I just like negotiating with sellers, and it's really fun. So the book that's really gonna help you being a good negotiator was written by Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference. The book really takes you across different examples where negotiating can either save your life or just make it much better. And it takes you across all the different scenarios, like if you were negotiating your salary, or if you were negotiating for buying a car. It's really important if you know how to negotiate, how to get a better deal for yourself. So go get the book, learn those tips, learn some phrases, and just be ready to negotiate a better deal for yourself and your company. Okay, marketing. And the book that I recommend you here was written by Robert Cialdini, and it's called The Psychology of Persuasion. And that's what marketing is. It's all about persuasion. It walks you through different principles of basic psychology, like scarcity. We perceive product that is less available as more valuable. The reciprocity. When we get something from someone, we feel obligated to give something in return. Those kind of and other principles is really important to know, because you can literally incorporate them in your marketing so that you improve your brands, improve how people see you, and so that you can just simply be a better communicator of your brand. Now let's talk about selling. The book is called The Psychology of Selling by Brian Tracy. If you try to sell someone something, probably the first thing you're gonna do is just memorize some script, and that is the worst way to do that. When you're trying to sell something, it's not just trying to convince them to buy something. No, you first need to understand why should they buy it, how it can benefit them, what other people are gonna say about them if they buy this product. And that is why this particular book is really gonna walk you through how to tap into their thinking, how to ask the right questions, to understand their thinking behind this whole process, so that you can be more convincing and so that you can sell them better. Okay, now let's talk about the productivity. Look, we live in the world of distractions. Your phone is constantly buzzing with messages, you constantly check your emails, TV is playing in the background or some music in your ears. All of that creates distractions, which means your productivity is much lower, you feel less motivated, you kind of always distracted from work, and next thing you know, you are not working that hard anyway. So the book that I recommend you here is called Deep Work by Cal Newport. And what that book does, it actually gives you some tips on how to create that distraction-free environment for you, where you can actually focus on your work. Because it's really important if you can just silence those distractions for a while. You can just get in your room and for hours you do nothing but the work. You're concentrating on getting the results. That is gonna get you so far ahead as you can possibly think. Alright, there you have it, guys. 10 books that you should read if you want to be successful. Because look, those 10 skills that we went over today are absolutely essential if you want to achieve your goals. And there's no better way to learn about a skill if just grabbing a book and read about it, right? Or just go talk to a lot of smart people. But still try to read those books, and hopefully you will get a lot of knowledge out so that you can achieve more, get more things done, and be successful.